You probably know about Paul Revere's midnight ride, but who was the real Paul Revere? Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. When you think of Paul Revere, you probably picture a man on a horse riding through the night, ringing a bell and shouting, "The British are coming." But there's much more to this famous American patriot than that one midnight ride. So let's take a look at some facts about Paul Revere's life that you may not have known. Number 14. He was a silversmith. Paul Revere was born on January 1st, 1735 in Boston, Massachusetts. His father was a wealthy silversmith and owned a mint. From an early age, Paul showed an interest in his father's work and learned the silversmith trade from him. At age 12, he was sent to Europe to further his education and training, where he spent 5 years learning the latest techniques and styles from silversmiths there. He returned to Boston in 1753 and set up his own shop, which would become very successful. Some of his most famous pieces include a teapot that was used during the Boston Tea Party and a bowl that was presented to George Washington. Number 13. He was a member of the Sons of Liberty. The Sons of Liberty were a secret society formed in the 1760s by a group of American patriots who opposed British rule in the colonies. Members of the organization plotted and organized protests against British policies, such as the Stamp Act and the Tea Act. They also played a key role in the events leading up to the American Revolution. As a member of the Sons of Liberty, Paul Revere helped organize and carry out several protests against the British, including the Boston Tea Party, in which a group of colonists disguised as Native Americans boarded British ships and dumped tea into the harbor. Number 12. He participated in the Boston Massacre. In March 1770, tensions between the British soldiers and the colonists were high. A group of boys began taunting and throwing snowballs at the soldiers, and one soldier fired his musket, killing Crispus Attucks, a dock worker who had been part of a group of colonists protesting the increased British military presence in Boston. The incident became known as the Boston Massacre, and it helped to turn public opinion against the British. Revere created an engraving of the event that was widely circulated, which helped to galvanize support for the Patriots. The engraving depicted the British soldiers as savage beasts, and it helped to promote the idea that the British were oppressing the colonists without justification. Number 11. He was a founding member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. In 1780, Paul Revere was one of the founding members of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, a non-profit organization dedicated to advancing knowledge and understanding in America. He was elected to the Academy for his contributions to the arts and sciences, particularly his work as a silversmith and engraver. As a member of the Academy, Paul Revere helped to promote the intellectual and cultural development of the United States. He also served on the Board of Overseers for the Massachusetts General Hospital and was involved in other public projects that benefited the community. Number 10. He was a Freemason. Paul Revere was a member of the Freemasons, a fraternal organization that was popular in the 18th century. Freemasonry is a fraternal organization that emphasizes personal growth, moral responsibility, and community service. Members of the Freemasons often come from diverse backgrounds and beliefs, but they are united by their commitment to these core values. It is said that Paul Revere's Masonic connections helped him to spread the message of the American Revolution throughout New England. The secrecy and communication networks of the Freemasons allowed for the exchange of ideas and plans for the revolution without the knowledge of the British authorities. Paul Revere's fellow Masons would have helped to spread the word of the planned revolution and ensure that people were ready to fight back against the British. Number 9. He helped plan the Battle of Bunker Hill. The Battle of Bunker Hill was an important early battle in the American Revolutionary War. It took place on June 17, 1775, near Boston. Revere was involved in planning the defense of the battle, helping to dig trenches and erect fortifications on Breed's Hill, which overlooked the town of Charlestown. Although the British ultimately won the battle, the Patriots inflicted heavy casualties on the British, demonstrating that they were capable of holding their own in a fight. This gave the Patriots a much-needed boost in morale and helped to rally support for the cause. Number 8. He delivered important messages. In addition to his famous midnight ride, Paul Revere delivered several other important messages during the Revolutionary War. For example, he was one of the riders in the Independent Riders Corps, a group of mounted couriers who carried messages and supplies between the Patriot leaders. He also helped to smuggle weapons and ammunition into the colonies, which was an important task since the Patriots were often outgunned and outmaneuvered by the British. His knowledge of the countryside and his skill as a horseman made him an ideal candidate for this kind of work. And his bravery and dedication to the Patriot cause enabled him to succeed despite the danger involved. Number 7. He was captured by the British. In 1778, Paul Revere was captured by the British while attempting to deliver a message to John Hancock, a leader of the American Revolution. He was taken to Castle Williams in New York City, where he was held as a prisoner of war. Revere was able to escape after 2 months, but he was recaptured soon after and sent to Britain. There he was again imprisoned until the end of the war in 1783. During his time in prison, Revere suffered greatly and was subjected to harsh treatment by the British Guards. Despite this, he remained loyal to the Patriot cause and refused to renounce his beliefs. His capture and imprisonment serve as a reminder of the high price that was paid for the American Revolution. Number 6. He was a spy. Paul Revere was a spy for the Continental Army during the American Revolutionary War. He was responsible for gathering intelligence on British troop movements and other military activities. Revere used his skills as a silversmith and engraver to forge documents and create disguises. He also had a network of informants who provided him with valuable information. One of his most famous missions was to spy on British General John Burgoyne as he marched his troops from Canada to Albany, New York. Revere followed Burgoyne's army, gathering intelligence on their numbers and supplies. His reports helped the Continental Army to anticipate Burgoyne's moves and ultimately led to his surrender at Saratoga in 1777. Number 5. He was awarded a pension. After the American Revolutionary War, Paul Revere was awarded a pension for his service to the United States. The pension was a monthly payment that was intended to provide him with financial security in his old age. Revere had made significant sacrifices during the war, including spending time in prison and losing his business. The pension was a way to show appreciation for his service and to help him to make up for the losses that he had suffered. However, the amount of the pension was relatively small, and it took several years for Revere to receive it. Nevertheless, it was an important recognition of his contributions to the founding of the United States. Number 4. He died believing the shot heard round the world was not fired by him. On April 18, 1775, Paul Revere and 2 other men rode out of Boston to warn the militia that the British were on the move. Revere was the only one of the 3 who actually fired his gun. So when the British came under fire, they assumed that Revere was the source. In reality, the first shot was fired by an unknown member of the militia. This has led to many people believing that Revere did not fire his gun. However, eyewitness accounts from the time indicate that Revere did indeed fire at least 1 shot. Despite this, the belief that he did not fire his gun has persisted, and it is still commonly repeated today. Number 3. He has a lot of descendants. Paul Revere had a large family, and his descendants are numerous. According to the 1990 U.S. Census, there were over 10,000 people with the last name Revere in the United States alone. These descendants are spread out across the country and around the world. Some of Paul Revere's descendants have followed in his footsteps and become patriots in their own right. For example, one of his great-grandsons, Paul Revere Jr., was a major general in the Civil War. Another great-grandson, Frank Thompson, was a Medal of Honor recipient for his actions in World War II. Number 2. He has a monument in Boston. Paul Revere's contributions to the American Revolution are commemorated with a monument in Boston's North End. The monument is located at the corner of Revere Street and North Square and consists of a granite obelisk and a bronze statue of Revere. The statue depicts Revere standing with a lantern in one hand and a staff in the other, with the British soldiers approaching in the background. The monument was erected in 1885 and is one of the oldest monuments dedicated to a person of Hispanic descent in the United States. Number 1. He is the subject of many works of art. Paul Revere's life and work have been the subject of many works of art, including paintings, sculptures, photographs, and prints. One of the most famous works of art depicting Revere is Grant Wood's painting American Progress, which shows Revere on his famous midnight ride. Other works of art featuring Revere include a bust by Thomas Ball and a relief sculpture by Daniel Chester French. Revere's image is also used in several coins and medals, including the 1976 bicentennial silver dollar. So what do you think? Did you learn anything new about Paul Revere? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching and see you next time.